What did I get myself into?
Alright, hi everyone. Vian and Christin here from Mountain Road, and today we are gonna talk triathlon. Yeah.
For the beginner.
Yeah, so if you're planning maybe to do your very first triathlon, I think you're gonna like this video. We're gonna do a bit of an interview with Christin here and hear about a recent experience that she's gone through because she has recently done her very first triathlon ever. So I've done a bunch, but I kind of roped her in and got her training, and yeah, I think it's gone very well. So tell us about your first triathlon next. So what the race that you entered for and why you chose that particular race, and yeah, how you went about picking that.
Yeah, well, first I'll start out just by saying that, so it's been about, we've been married 5 years, and so I've been to a number of triathlons during that time supporting Vian, and every time I would go, it would just be like a wave of relief over me that I wasn't the one racing. You see all these athletes out there, they're setting up their bikes and, putting everything in the transition, and they just have so much stuff, and there's so many moving parts when it comes to triathlon. So it can be incredibly intimidating for somebody who has never done one before.
Yeah.
So at the beginning of 2019, I just decided that, there were two things going on. Number one, we were looking for a community, and we'd heard about a triathlon group in the area that we decided to join.
Fixie.
And so that would just be a way for Vian to, be able to connect with the triathlon community and be able to, talk cycling and gear and all that kind of stuff.
Talk the triathlon talk.
Exactly. Yeah. And then if I'm tagging along, then he doesn't feel so guilty going off on, long rides on Saturday mornings and happy hours and all that kind of thing. So that was the first thing to get me kind of heading in the direction of triathlon. Second is just that I had been tagging along with you with a lot of your training. So I was fit enough to at least complete a triathlon. There's no doubt about that. But it was really more just like the intimidation factor, and particularly with the swim and swimming in open water. I've written a whole blog post about that.
And we'll link to that on top of this video. Yeah.
That's still an issue for me, and so that's why I picked the Reston Sprint Triathlon as my very first race, because the swim actually happens in a pool. So it's actually an awesome triathlon for the beginner. It's 400 meters of swimming. It's 50-meter lane, and it's outdoors. And you just kind of like snake up and down under. You go. They still have the barriers. What are they called?
The ropes for the
ropes separating, and then you just kind of go under them whenever you're crossing into the next lane. And so it takes out that intimidation factor of swimming out in an open lake and getting out in the middle of nowhere and kind of having that panic attack. So that's why I picked the Reston Sprint Triathlon. Also, it's local. We live very close.
Yeah, so a nice, easy race, I think, to sum up what you said, for the beginner out there looking to do their first triathlon, pick a race that, first of all, maybe an area that you're familiar with, so you know the roads that you're going to be cycling on. You maybe have driven it a couple of times. Look at this particular road, that you did the triathlon on, it's also very familiar roads. You've driven them plenty of times with the car. We could practice it. The pool swim, as you mentioned, makes it a lot easier, that you don't have to worry about the possibility of not being able to swim. You can just stand and walk if you choose to do so. So that's why you did triathlon, and how you kind of started and how you picked your race. So now going into the preparation phase, right? So swim, bike, run. And you kind of hint that a little bit, that I've kind of pulled you along, and you've kind of tagged along for some of my workouts. So talk about your preparation for this first triathlon? How did you go about actually preparing for the swim, the bike, and the run?
Yeah, so again, it was something that if you had told me in January that I had to do a triathlon, I could have done it. I might not have done it as well, but I was definitely fit enough to exercise for 2 hours. But we did get me a gym membership so that I could be swimming as well. So we would go out and swim twice a week. Yeah, and then a lot more cycling. You got me a indoor trainer.
Yeah.
And a Zwift membership as well, and then a Wahoo.
Just a Wahoo sensor that would be able to capture your speed settings while you're riding indoors.
Yeah, and so that was something we got in the middle of winter, which really helped to be able to keep that cycling fitness up in the colder months.
Yeah,
and it's a lot of fun, and it's really competitive too.
So to that point, also, clearly you started this preparation well in advance because. Yeah. You did this race.
I signed up for it in January.
Signed up in January.
And the race was in June.
Trained all throughout the winter.
6 months basically.
And raced in June. So yeah, definitely a long-term commitment also, and preparing for this race. And it's not just a 1 or 2 week thing, you really set that goal and you were aspiring to get to that race fit and ready to take it on, right?
That's it.
Okay, so that covers the swim and the bike. Running-wise, how did you prepare for that?
I actually missed running. I was so busy swimming and running or riding that, I would only be running maybe once or twice a week. But that's also the advantage of triathlon is the fact that you are doing 3 different disciplines. So in the past, I've just run so much. That's been my sport, So you can overdo it.
Yeah.
In that regard. So it's good because then on those days that we were running, I could really focus on it and just go out there and go all out. So.
Yeah. Well, that's the beauty of multiple sports. Yeah. They complement each other well. Okay, so that's the 3 sports, but there's also sometimes triathlon is known to have a 4th discipline to it, and that's the transition phase of things, right? So let's go into your race on the day, and so kind of walk us through the transition, how that felt for you, going from those one discipline to the other, because it's easy enough to train and practice one event in isolation, but you never get that effect of doing all 3 linked up. So talk about your transition area and what you took into it and what gear you used and more like just the basic transition.
Yeah, so I have a blog post up about how I fuel, my workout fuel. And so I had a bottle of my Tulsi tea, my hydration beverage, on the bike. And then I also had just a plain water bottle right there at transition. So I kind of, drank some of that in between each discipline. Okay, and I also brought a little snack baggie full of grapefruit slices. I know it sounds funny, but at both transitions I ate that and it was just like this really nice
boost of electrolytes.
Yeah, it was just really refreshing and it's a natural source of electrolytes, so I loved that. And I had, for the ride, you've got to put on your helmet, you've got to put on your shoes and socks, depending on your level of
competitiveness,
comfort and all that. So I think the biggest thing with transition was really going from the swim to the bike. That was really challenging because, well, first of all, you're now soaking wet. Normally you would get out of the pool and dry yourself off, but you have to run to your bike. You have to run barefoot too, on the gravel or, pavement. And then, getting all your cycling gear on, and then you have to run your bike to the lineup. You can't just get on your bike immediately. They have a certain point where you wait, and then you mount and dismount line.
The mount and dismount line, yes.
Yeah, and so that was like a moment of pressure where you were watching me and some of our teammates were watching, and
we all just tried to calm it down, and I think that's the biggest piece of advice I think for a beginner athlete in their first triathlon is just take your time. I think a lot of people, they do waste a lot of time in transition area. They might take their time a bit too much, but I think for the first couple of races it's okay to just to slow the pace down a little bit. You've been horizontal all throughout the swim, and now you're all of a sudden coming upright. The blood has to flow in a different direction throughout your body now. And it makes it tricky, and also now as you're rushing out of the transition area, you got to get on your bike. That dismount line is a tricky thing to figure out on your first go.
And the cleats.
And the cleats.
That's another thing that I had to really prepare for. I mean, sure, I could have just cycled in sneakers.
Yeah.
But yeah, you gotta look the part, you guys. And that has taken me a really long time to get used to, and that comfort that confidence has come from in the spring. We started doing weekly Saturday rides with our team, and you guys would all go off on a bunch, and ride on the open roads, and I would just ride along on our local W&OD trail. And then just every time you come up on an intersection, you have to clip in and clip out and get comfortable. And yeah, it really comes down to just experience and doing it over and over again and kind of forcing yourself into those scenarios. So, so that was definitely, getting into the bike. But once you get on there and once you start pedaling, then it's all fun.
All right, so good stuff. The transition, definitely the fourth discipline for a triathlon, but practice it. If you can, practice it. All right, so leading up to the event, let's walk through the first week or the last week of your preparation and kind of what went into that specifically, and maybe also just from a sort of a mental standpoint, how you approach the race.
Yeah. I was really nervous. I was way too nervous, I think. Now that I've done it, I'm like, it's really not that big of a deal. I didn't need to be that nervous. So, yeah, and to the point where my immune system went down a bit because I wasn't sleeping enough. I was worried and ended up with a sore throat the day before the race. And so essentially I was actually racing with a cold. Yeah. Or a head cold. So, yeah, that was the biggest thing.
Yeah. So how would you approach it differently next time? If you go into a race again and just trying to calm the nerves, now that you've done one, what would you say, would be the best approach?
Yeah, I was really playing the swim out in my head over and over again. That was, I think, the thing I was most worried about. So now that I've done it, at least in a pool, it's that whole thing about having an overcrowded pool and being worried about everybody else that's around you. I think just doing it once, getting it over with
it calms the nerves.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think I'd be quite as nervous the next time around.
Okay.
Except for if it's an open water swim, and then that'll also be pretty nerve-wracking.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so on that part of being nervous about certain things, let's talk about the race itself. So how did it go on the day? And maybe just throw it out, what was the most fun part of the race and what was the most challenging part of the race?
Yeah, the most fun was definitely the fact that we joined a team and we had teammates and they were all there. Again, it's a local race, so a lot of people were able to actually be volunteers or just come out and watch and cheer. So that was so much fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So having that camaraderie, and so that's definitely a piece of advice that we can give a beginner. I think the thing that gives you the highest level of commitment, and kind of keeps you accountable as you go through the process of training, is having training partners, having those group sessions that you got to pitch up for. There will be somebody else that's sort of waiting for you, to be there as well. It gets you on that path of becoming fit and targeting your first race, right? It's just having that camaraderie and having a group to be a part of,
and the goal that everybody knows about, and they're helping you and cheering you on to get to that point.
Exactly.
And I might be like a total beginner, and other people have been racing for years, but they're still so supportive, and it's really fun.
Nice. And the more challenging part of the day was at the swim.
It was one component that I had to deal with the swim and the bike, and that was navigating the other competitors.
Okay.
Yeah, so the swim actually wasn't so bad. I was really fortunate that there weren't too many crowds and jams in the pool. You do see there are people that'll actually walk their race, the swim, and there are, when we were kind of observing, because that's the other thing is it's, people are being released every 5 seconds into the water, and so we were able to stand there and watch for a good half hour before I actually went into the water, and so you'd see clumps of people kind of getting up stuck on each other, so just passing people, having that confidence also to think, that person ahead of me, I'm a little bit faster, I'm gonna pass them in the water. And then same with the cycling, was just because you have some people that are flying down the hills, you have some people that are really struggling, that are going a lot slower, and trying to figure out if I'm ready to pass that person or not. And also the gears, because the race was rolling hills pretty much almost the whole time. So yeah, and I've had some difficulty with my, what is it, the thing that keeps breaking?
Your rear derailleur.
Yeah, that's broken twice now. So shifting gears is something that I've had to, again, kind of like build up confidence in. So going downhill, you know, and then going back uphill, and you want to kind of be changing up your gears appropriately, and then while also passing people. Yeah, that was the most challenging.
Okay. All right, so what's your next goal? You've now done your first triathlon. What's next? Are you going to do another one, or are you sort of going to pause, or what's holding you back from doing your next one? What's up next?
Yeah, I would really like to do another one. I think I would do one this year, but I would probably want to stick to the pools, and I think most of those have already happened or have filled up. So yeah, I'll probably have to wait for another year. Okay. So I'll probably be more, you know, concentrating on running, maybe doing some running races, and
just staying fit, and then again going through into the winter and maintaining that fitness. And now you've got the base, and you've got the confidence, and you've made that first step. So next one is going to be easier. Each season, just, you know, you kind of layer it and just improve over time, right?
Yeah. And maybe also doing a few more open water practice swims. Yeah,
get you over that fear, over your fear of open water swimming, so your next one can be
outdoors,
not in a pool. Yeah. Okay. We're gonna check back in next year, right? All right, so let's wrap this up. You've spoken about the race, all the preparation. And I think we kind of covered a whole bunch of, you know, pieces of information for beginners as we went along. But what's the kind of biggest takeaway that you would put out to somebody who's new to triathlon?
Yeah, I would just say try it out. You know, no pressure. That's the greatest thing about it, is you have people from all different fitness levels and abilities and experiences that are out there, and it's such a supportive community, and yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. So just enjoy it. And that's what we at Mountain Road stand for, is just having, you know, living that fit, healthy, sustainable lifestyle. And, you know, part of that is just enjoying the skill sets and the talents that we have, and if you
the
can
movement
and outdoors and just having a great time.
That's it.
Yeah.
Go Christin! Yes! Woo! You did it!
Number 524, Christin Piper.
All right, so you just completed your very first triathlon. How do you feel?
Yeah, no, I want to know if I'm actually done or not. I feel like I need to do 3 more things. That was exhausting, but good.
Yeah.
I can't think straight.
Yeah, let's give you some time to catch your breath.
I'm tired, that was tough, but it was fun in the moment, and it's so fun having all the teammates cheering, and yeah.
Nice.
All the energy around you is really good.
All right, well, we hope you enjoyed this video and this little interview about how to do your first triathlon and what to look for.
Be sure to check our blog post. The link will be in the description below, and I've included way more details about what I brought with me on the day of the race. All right, thanks so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe,
hit
the like button, and yeah, we'll see you around.
See you next time.